Hey there, I'm Emily. I'm a sociologist who teaches statistics. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to STATA, how to access it using the virtual lab at Florida State University, and how to just navigate the platform and understand what the program can do. So let's familiarize ourselves with how to use STATA and, in fact, how to access it for free as an FSU student using the virtual lab, or what we call the VLab. It's a way that we can use FSU's institutional license as students for course-related projects. STATA is what we call a statistical software program. So we use STATA to organize and analyze data that's too large to effectively process by hand. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of observations in our data. So we command the program using what we call the command line. This is where we enter our programming syntax, commands that tell the program to perform mathematical or statistical operations. So using the VLab is pretty simple. You can Google FSU Virtual Lab or use this direct link, and you're going to log in with your FSU ID and password. I do want to note, however, as an instructor, I can't help you with your FSU ID and password. So if you're having any trouble logging in, if there are any issues with your ID or password, you want to contact the FSU IT department or Virtual Lab resources, and they'll be able to hook you up and make sure that you're able to access what you need. So once you do log in with your credentials, it'll bring you to a page that looks like this, where you see tons of programs that you have access to. Look, you have the whole Adobe suite. You have a lot of mathematical programs that you can access, Power BI, and here you can see STATA SE. That's what we're going to be using. So double click, and what will happen is that this program will pop up within a window embedded in your web browser. So after loading up, you're going to see this STATA program, meet your new best friend here in the VLab. Remember, you don't need to have any programming experience necessary for this course. I'm going to teach you and guide you on all of the syntax you're going to need to perform the statistical tests for your assignments. So let go of any of your math or programming anxiety. We got you. All right, so see down here, there's this line called the command line. That's where you are going to enter commands that STATA will use to perform operations. So you always want to make sure that the cursive is active there and that that little indicator is flashing. Then you're good to go. Now I'm going to walk you through a live demo, again, reinforcing how you're going to access STATA using the virtual lab at FSU. And I'm going to walk you through some of the common commands you're going to need to succeed on your data analysis worksheets in this course. So now I'm logged into the virtual lab, and I'm going to open STATA SE by double-clicking this icon. So this is STATA. This is how the program will appear in your web browser. Thanks for the reminder, STATA. I'm going to get it out of the way. All right, let me do a quick walkthrough of what you're seeing on your screen. We enter our commands here in the command line, and if you need to increase visibility in any direction, you can drag these small bars to be able to see things more clearly. If I enter a command here, it's going to show up here after I've entered it, so I have a log of what I've done here in STATA. So let's try that. Pro tip, I like to enter this command, set more off, each time I start STATA so I don't have to hit my return key dozens of times to see a complete table. So go ahead and do that. We're good. See how I entered this, we see the results, and then we see it show up here in the command line log. Cool. The next thing we want to do is open a data set, and in STATA syntax, we use the command use. We're saying use the data set that is located at a specific location. So I'm going to type use here in the command line, space, and then I'm going to type the URL where I've put data. Now we're going to use the GSS 2018, a small portion of that data set. It's survey data that shows every single response to many questions by many respondents. So it's survey data packaged in an organized format, and I'm going to connect to that data by doing the following. Now that I've typed the web location, you can see I'm saying use the data set located here, and I hit enter. And immediately you see many variables pop up here. Those are all the variables that are in this data set, but we can't see the values yet of all of the respondents that answered all of these questions, which are our variables. So now I'm going to have you use the Data Explorer. You're going to go to the top of your menus up here, click Data, go to Data Editor, and you're going to want to make sure you click Browse. Data Editor would allow you to change values in the data set, which we do not want to do. Instead, we just want to be able to browse or see the information in the data set. So I'll click here, and up pops a new window. Let me just remind you what you're looking at. You're looking at a data set, and what you see are all of these variable names here as column headers. Those variable names are each shorthand for questions that were asked on the GSS survey. So here is one question, and then in this column, each row is an individual response to that question. So respondent 1 for this question said no. Respondent 2 said yes. So let me clarify further. Each row in the data set is an observation, or when we're talking about survey data, is a respondent. And then if you go across each column, these are all of their answers to individual survey questions, which are our variables. So here we're looking at a complete set of data, and you can scroll left and right, and you can see lots of responses from lots of respondents. Very cool. Check out here at the bottom. We see that there are 1,064 variables in our data set. In other words, that's how many questions were asked and responded to. And then here we see observations, all the answers that were given by a single respondent. So we have 2,348 respondents that responded to all of the questions in this data. Very cool. I can X out of there and return to the screen. Tabulate is one command that just shows us information about one particular variable. One of the variables that's in here that's pretty easy to work with is age. It's located in here. It's pretty simple. It just is age in years of the respondent. Let's say I wanted more information about the age of respondents in this data. We wanted summary data that organizes all of our responses. Well, you can enter tabulate, or lots of people use shorthand. We just say tab, and then age, the name of the variable. And when I hit return or enter, this table pops up. This is a frequency table. As you can see, this column here on the left is the age of the respondent in years. So 18, 19, 20, these are the ages of respondents to the survey. Here you can see frequency, then you can see percent of the total respondents, and then you can say cumulative percent of the total respondents. Let me make sure that's very clear. So I can see here 22 people were 18 years old, which is like saying almost 1% of all of the respondents were 18 years old. Let's look at another value. How many people that responded to this survey were exactly 30 years old? Exactly, 50. We look in the frequency column and see that 50 people who responded were 30 years old. Now, what percent of all of our respondents were exactly 30 years old? About 2%. Now, what if I wanted to know, okay, how many people that responded to our survey were 30 years old or younger? So that would be like saying, let's add all of these percents together. How many people were 18 and 19 and 20 all the way through 30? That's what this cumulative percentage column is, right here. So about 19% of people in this data set, or respondents to this survey, were 30 years old or younger. See how that works? Awesome. Now you can see the total frequency or number of respondents is 2,341. Now, as you know, we might have people in our data set that didn't respond to every question. So we can't assume that this is how many people are in the data set. Some people might have said, I don't prefer to share my age, or maybe they weren't even asked to share their age by accident. So there might be some people in the data set that didn't provide their age. All right, so just your top three takeaways as usual. Remember, these are not comprehensive, it's just to make sure we're all on the same page. We know that STATA is a statistical analysis software that helps us organize and analyze big data sets. That's how quantitative sociologists make sense of big patterns in the world. The VLab, I hope I've demonstrated and convinced you, is easy to use, free to access. Finally, I want you to use your first data analysis assignment to practice entering STATA syntax into the command line and seeing how to manipulate, organize, and analyze data in STATA. Thanks, everybody.